Today I'm going to talk about training plans, coaching, and what the sort of support you can get for developing your own training plans. And what I think is better. Well, I've been a coach for over 10 years. I've been an athlete, I guess, of some sorts of various ability levels for over 40 years, and I've worked with coaches, I've tried training plans, and I've planned my own training, and so I've had a variety of experiences that hopefully that you can find useful in deciding how to go forward with your own training. Off-the-shelf training plans can work for some people, but they don't work very well for other people. You can buy training plans from places like Training Peaks, or you can get free plans from places like Trainer Road or Zwift and follow along with those. The plans from Trainer Road and Zwift tend to be a bit intensity focused, and so they're quite good at giving you a good boost of fitness quite quickly, but they're not very sustainable. Whereas other plans might be more sustainable, they might be a bit more gradual and move towards a specific type of event that you're aiming for, or even a specific event. If you look around, you can probably find a training plan that's designed specifically for your event and your level of fitness. They're relatively cost effective. Well, in fact, some can be free, and they're not particularly expensive compared to paying for a one-to-one coach, for instance. However, they're always a compromise because they're not designed specifically for you, and they may not be designed specifically for your event, and they won't be designed for your particular life. So, if you always want to go on your club ride or your club track session, if you're a runner on a Tuesday night, for instance, well, the plan might not account for that. It might plan for a Sunday long ride or long run, and you want to do your long ride or long run on a Saturday. These things can be adjusted if you've got a certain amount of knowledge. One of the greatest drawbacks, I think, about off-the-shelf plans is that they don't account for your progress in fitness. It depends on your background and also your lifestyle and how much recovery you can get as to how quickly your fitness develops, and also a lot to do with your physiology, just your genetics. It doesn't mean to say that if you get fit quickly, it doesn't mean to say you're going to end up in a better condition ultimately than somebody who's much more gradual in developing the fitness. But it does mean that you develop differently, and therefore the training should be adapted accordingly. And then come the things which are associated with both designing your own plan and buying an off-the-shelf plan. You're on your own. You've got to measure your performance, do your own tests, and see how you're progressing against the plan, whether that be one of your own design or one that you've bought off the shelf. You've got to have some sort of objectivity, and that can be quite difficult. It's easy to overthink things, and that can mean that you drift off plan, or you decide that you should be resting when you should be training, or you should be training when you should be resting, and things like that, because you're very emotionally involved in what's happening and you're thinking about it quite a lot, and that can be quite stressful and take away some of the enjoyment perhaps of doing the training, and also can add a bit of stress to your life, and that can impact on your recovery. And that this can lead to overtraining or undertraining if you're not able to make educated decisions or objective decisions about whether you should be taking extra recovery or training harder or whatever. There are ways around this. You can engage, a lot of coaches do one-to-one consultations that you can do as a one-off. We do that. If you want to work with us, you can easily check out our website and book a one-to-one to discuss your training with us, or just send me an email, and if it's not too complicated, I can respond and give an opinion, or use Twitter or one of the forums and see what other people think. You can use peer groups, professionals, friends, training partners. Somebody who knows you well is actually one of the better people to give an objective assessment, because if you're a little bit more grumpy than you usually are or something like that, then that can show that it's time to take a rest. So that's off-the-shelf plans. They work well for some people and they don't work well for other people. It's quite easy to drift off a plan because you're on your own, and it's easy to wimp out. There's not any accountability associated with the training plan. Unless you tell people what you're doing, or put the plan up on the fridge perhaps and tell your family to check up on you and make you do the training, then it's just down to you to decide and know whether you'd put in the work in. And then next comes what I call DIY plans. So basically you're making your own training plan. And this can be as simple as having a weekly structure, so you do the same things on the same days each week, and you just decide at the beginning of the week what interval training session you're going to do, how far your long ride's going to be. And that works really well, and in fact that's perhaps the most effective way that I've found to get fitter. You have to sort of make interactive decisions, but having that fixed framework and just doing the same thing and being a bit boring about it can be a really effective way to train. A step up from that is making a plan that's specifically for your event. So you map out the weeks and months like we've done in some of the videos. The step-by-step guide to developing your own training plan is an example of how I might go about setting up a training plan, either for myself or for somebody else. Once again, these depend on your personality as to how effective they are. You can easily fall victim to overthinking and changing things and chopping and changing things. And actually, training plans work better if you're consistent and progressive and you just keep doing the same thing for a reasonably long period of time. So changing things about a lot isn't necessarily a good idea. You have to have a certain amount of knowledge to put together a good training plan, but that can be easily gained by following people on YouTube, reading books. There's a lot of information out there, and actually a lot of books have training plans within them, and they give you an explanation of how to adapt them. And of course, doing everything yourself, putting the plan together, following the plan, tracking progress, and then ultimately being successful in your event can be very satisfying. In my experience, this weekly structure and then progressing that, so you're just doing the same thing every week and having the odd rest week now and again and throwing in the odd event, so you taper down for the odd event, is the most effective. I haven't found that producing a long-term plan for myself has been a very effective way to train. It's just like being very simple about it has been the most effective way to do a DIY plan, and then I adjust things as I get fitter, or if I get tired or something, I back off a little bit, and that can be very effective. One thing that is really helpful if you're planning your own training is having some sort of routine. So that might be a daily routine and a weekly routine. In fact, commuting is a really effective way to create a routine and build your fitness, and I've talked about that in, I think my last video was about commuting. So you could have a look at that if you're interested. Because consistency is by far the most important thing in developing fitness. You know, these many intervals at this intensity or doing such and such a long ride, you know, they're just sort of nuances, but the main thing that's going to get you fit is just getting out and running or riding, depending on what your main sport is, or combining the two effectively and just doing something every day or 5 times a week or 3 times a week, just being consistent, building your fitness step by step gradually towards your event. That's what makes the difference. So just have that in mind. Just get out and do something, and usually something is better than nothing, and it doesn't always matter too much what that is. And then of course you've got one-to-one coaching, which you might think I'm going to say, well, that's the most effective thing and you should hire me as a coach. Well, you know, if you get the right coach, one-to-one coaching is by far, in my opinion, the most effective way to develop your fitness. If you get the wrong coach, it can be very demotivating. It can lead to overtraining if you don't communicate well with them or they don't communicate well with you. So as a consequence, it can be the best thing or it could actually be the worst thing. So it really depends on the coach and developing a good relationship with that coach. Personally, I've worked with a few coaches. Some haven't worked for me. They've been successful and good coaches. They've coached other people to successful performances, but it just didn't work for me. We didn't get on together, and the training routine or the system that their approach didn't really work for me. And then other coaches I've worked with have been very effective, and that's worked very well for me. And I'm working with a coach at the moment. I'm a professional coach myself, but I think that coaching brings in a degree of objectivity. It stops me overthinking things. It takes away a lot of the stress of my own training, so I just get the plan. I talk with the coach every 2 weeks or a month. We work things out, and then I follow the plan, and I'm building my fitness. And what I find for me is that's a really effective way to train. I don't want to be spending a lot of time thinking about my training. I just want to enjoy my cycling is what I do at the moment, mountain biking. I want to enjoy that, enjoy the fitness and work towards events, and I don't want to be spending a lot of time stressing over my own training. Having a coach gives expertise, objectivity, motivation, accountability and that type of thing to your training. It also, like I said, takes away the stress of you thinking about your own training. You just get out and focus on riding, recovery and enjoying your sport. Plans are updated according to your fitness gains. If you need a week off or you need to make adjustments because of some sort of other commitment, then you've got expert advice and experience on how best to deal with that. So by working in that way, you're optimizing your performance and you're minimizing the risk of overtraining. I think one of the most overlooked things about working with a coach is that they're in it with you. They're bothered whether you succeed or not. They might be paying them, but they really care. You know, a good coach really cares whether you're successful or not. And you can interact with them and share jokes and have a laugh occasionally and things like that. But they really, it means something to them whether you're successful, and therefore that camaraderie as well as the accountability can be a real motivator and keep you on track.
And that little nudge of encouragement, whether it's sort of WhatsApp message or a text message or something like that, just asking how you're getting on and how was that, and you feeling good today, and that sort of thing, and good luck in your event, and that type of thing. That can be actually probably in some respects just as valuable as the training plan. Certainly with the bike packers I've worked with, the one-to-one meetings that we've had monthly to discuss logistics and plans and pacing and strategy has probably been as effective as the training plan. And then of course there's combinations. You can combine a training plan with some sort of support package. There are these things, I can think of this thing called Base Camp, which is run by Velocious Cycling, Tim Cusick. I don't know all the details, but I think it's basically a training plan to build up your base fitness over the winter. They do group turbo training sessions, indoor trainers on Zwift, and they have coaches on hand to support you. So you've got a fixed training plan, but you've got coaching support. We run a similar package where our group plans, our cycling and running group plans. You can either use one of our training plans, or you can use your own training plan, or you can buy an off-the-shelf plan, and we'll support you in executing that plan. And ours works by, you can get unlimited email support with either myself or Claire, a workshop every 2 weeks. And we've got our Facebook group, a closed Facebook group where people share ideas and support one another. And that's working really effectively. So these type of combined packages can work very nicely. So different things work for different people. It depends on your personality. If you can get a good relationship with a good coach, that's probably the most effective thing if you can afford it. If you like to follow a plan, you can buy a plan. You can get support in executing that plan. Or if you watch YouTube videos like my videos, then learn from those to create your own training plan. And if you want our support, then you can join one of our group packages to support you along the way. Or you can just make some comments or get in touch with me, and I'll do my best to help you informally. I hope you find that useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.